So this is from Linux Foundation. So Linux Foundation was set up in 2006. It is hosting a lot of projects. It has numerous projects. It has a kind of a subpart which is called LF networking, that is the Linux Foundation networking. So this Linux Foundation networking is working as kind of a subgroup where there are a lot of telco related and networking related projects being hosted. And this is a, you can say, architecture which has been shared by LF networking or Linux Foundation networking. Now, why this has a lot of backing? Because it has all the three hyperscalers. What are hyperscalers? All the three public clouds. For example, Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud, GCP. So they have ecosystem, because with this, anyone, they can probably make it a commodity based network. For example, if you are owning a smaller industry, right? Maybe smaller mid-sized industry, and you buy some solution from some vendor which would require 5G networks, for example, at the IoT system. So it would require 5G network. So you will go to Azure or you will go to AWS, you will buy their radio products. You will just put in your radio products just like you put your Wi-Fi. Then you will configure the IP address which has been provided by AWS or the endpoint, and then you will have a complete private 5G network in your premises. So this is called commoditization, or the commoditization of the private 5G networks. So this is very important for the hyperscalers so that break into this private telecom ecosystem. This has a huge backing from the hyperscalers, and that's why in next few years you will see a lot of adoption of open source 5G networks or the 6G networks coming after 2030. Now, if we talk about what are the type of networks it's going to support, you will have mobile networks, you will have residential, which is kind of fixed wireless. Then you have small and medium sized business, which also have a robotics, or you can say the industrial automation. And then you have enterprises. So these are the kind of use cases that is being served by these networks. You can see here the carrier access. So carrier access networks are just like the telco networks that we have. And then you have enterprises and IoT. And they have different kind of projects here. So ORAN Alliance is basically targeting only the carrier access network. Then you have home edge, which is kind of fixed wireless access. Then you have FLedge, which is a kind of a edge-based network deployment. And then you have Akraino, which is the edge network, or you can say the edge project, which is being hosted by the LF networking. Now here you can see the where the you can say your network function is being deployed. Here, this is user edge. So user edge is very close to the user. Okay, just like near the user premises. We can call it as a base station, near the base station that we used to deploy, or intermediate that. Maybe a CPE will have this type of deployment. CPE is the customer premises equipment. Then you have service provider edge. This is more like of a where we had, you can say, the base stations in terms of 2G, we had BSC and RNC in terms of 3G, right? So this would be the aggregation or the distribution layer. You will have a service provider edge where you will have some component of compute as well, which would help into this, you can say, reducing the latency. Then you have core and the cloud. What type of cloud we are supporting? We are supporting public cloud. We are supporting carrier cloud. And in carrier cloud, you will see Kubernetes, DBDK, and all these Drop-in-IO kind of infrastructure. You will see OpenStack as well, OpenDaylight. These are the type of infrastructure which is being supported. Then you have private cloud. You can deploy it on your private cloud as well. And then you have application infrastructure, which is like VNF, CNF, and then you have the Magma. Magma and OpenAirInterface are another projects, which is for open source 5G. Then you can have, for example, apps in ORAN Alliance, right? We have X apps. You can have X apps as well, which can be deployed anywhere across this network. So this is kind of the use case we are talking about in coming few years. You will see a lot of adoption of this kind of architecture and a lot of adoption of open source projects. There is a huge backing. I will tell you, AWS is heavily working on Magma to deploy their services using Magma. So it is a kind of a good use case where if you have an understanding of Magma, how Magma core works, it will be very helpful. So this is the kind of architecture we are talking about with open source 5G.